Don't think about the what you need to do, but who can do this. Not based on what they've shown you to date, but what their potential could be if you had great leadership skills.
It builds up my confidence in myself, my own self-belief, my own sense of self-worth. And then I'm more capable and more able next time to take on more tasks and to take on more responsibilities. Welcome to Evolve Ventures, the one place where leaders like you can dependably go to shift your consciousness to unlimited potential. I am your host, Bianca Thomas.
And I'm your host, Emilia Smith. We are so excited for you to join us for another episode at Evolve Ventures, episode number 95, Delegate or Die. We are coming out hot with this episode, as we have been with our last episode, number 94. Is your business relevant in 10 years? And we intend to keep the heat rolling. Reason why? Because that's just how we do it. So that being said, I want to dive into this episode specifically around the delegation aspect. So that's certainly what you can look forward to. And we definitely got dramatized on this on purpose because of the fact that at the end of the day, honestly, like when you look at it from a high level perspective, those businesses that do not delegate effectively ultimately shrivel up and do die. And so I want to start with story, and I want to start by giving a shout out to all those moms that are out there who specifically have done things without ever getting recognition, who have strategized a finish line even before their male or female counterpart understood. And certainly who started to do things for the family, strategize, whether it be softball practice, foods, grocery store packing, whether it was even packing the car before a trip. Like I want to give all of you a shout out because you were doing things as a leader in your family without people even realizing. And I start there because when Bianca and I started listening to each other's stories when it came to delegation and how much I've struggled before with delegation, how much she and I's experience just in observing other women specifically, but other people in general with this concept of delegating, how many people around us struggle with this concept. So I remember growing up and really giving my mom a lot of credit. It didn't happen initially. She was actually a pain in my butt for a lot of my life and love her so much. However, when I was a young teenager, I didn't understand why she was doing what she was doing, why she had to, have the house a certain way, why it was in her belief system the most ideal to pack certain bags in the trunk of our car on our way to a trip a particular way. Now we call her the puzzle queen for a reason. She fits more in the back of a car than anyone I ever knew could possibly do. If you're that person that says it can't be done, she is the person that will prove you wrong. And I give her a lot of credit in that and have so much admiration for that. So I grew up seeing this woman be so incredible at what she did. And at that, also very frustrated because it no matter how hard I tried, it almost seems like I couldn't do what she wanted me to do or pack the car the way that she wanted me to pack. But she did a great job at trying to help where she could explain why she packed the car on trips a particular way. So if you've ever been with your family and you've gone on a trip, you probably have experienced the week before crazies is what I call it, where everyone's like running around, everyone's trying to prepare. You're trying to have more excitement towards this vacation or towards this trip, road trip, whatever it is, than you can possibly fathom. However, it gets trampled over by all of these, like everyone else's expectations of how we need to rearrange our lives so that we can eventually jet off to the airport, jet off to the road trip that we're on, wherever it is. And everyone's running around like a chicken with their heads cut off. And if I'm like, like you're probably, I want you to think back to that experience for you, what that was like with your family. There was likely someone in your family who wanted something a specific way. Like for example, with my mom, if it were the bags packed in the back, she'd like to have fun with it. And she was so extraordinary at that. I do give her that. However, if it wasn't a particular way, there was definitely some strife going on, or if my dad didn't pull the bags in, or she didn't communicate to him, like all the other things that she had in the back of her mind to make sure she was optimizing for the best experience that we could have as a family together. Now, other family members, I remember my siblings to an extent also being like, why do we have to do that? And each one of you, I'm sure, have an experience, and the why and the frustration and the not understanding my mother's leadership in these avenues definitely caused a lot of frustration, a lot of discontent right before a trip, a lot of stress, a lot of agony, a lot of sheer frustration, and ultimately, like, even sometimes like fighting in my family. Like, it wasn't the whole happy we're in the car now and everything's good. It was like, we're in the car. Like, why does everyone hate each other now? you know? So that's kind of what leadership is, in a way, where someone might have a vision of how things should go, or what the vision of this future will look like in terms of an experience or what have you, that all of us can have. And likely the intentions of the leader, more often than not, are very pure. I know with my mom, and just like Bianca, you're going to share your story about your mom. With my mom, it was like very much trying to make sure that she optimized the way in which we packed, how the cold bags were at the end of the trunk so that it was the first ones out of the car when we arrived and the last ones in when we were packing. Genuinely incredible strategy, but not necessarily revealing the why along the way made all of us go mad, and her very frustrated, and build contempt and challenge, and just a lot of unnecessary gunk and miscommunications and fighting. And now I'm not going to put that all on her, because it's certainly not all her. Just like with other moms and with other individuals, it's not all just the leader's challenge or the leader's fault or what have you. But what I will say, that those who are better at delegating, and we'll go into some of the factors that support delegation, are the ones who do have stronger communication, who do have stronger businesses, who are able to scale and help fulfill the people that they're around, not fulfill them, but help them fulfill themselves. It's the big difference between teaching someone how to fish versus teaching themselves how to teach themselves how to fish. Very different than just giving someone a fish. And I know we all heard that analogy. So why don't you share with us your experience and how you learned a little bit about delegation, or maybe the challenge with that? Because I know with our listeners, hearing some of these stories will help a lot of them connect maybe where their challenges came from and how that's actually carried with them over the years, to then ground ourselves in the concept of what we really want to talk about to our listeners today.
Yeah, I had a very, very similar experience to you. My mom, I don't think I give my mom enough credit. My mom really was
Same.
Wonder Woman. Wonder
Mm.
Woman. Like, my mom worked 2 jobs, raised 3 kids, had cancer, worked 2 jobs while having cancer, and
Mm.
still made sure to bring us to school, brought us back home, helped us with our homework, and then went back to her second job and would come home later on, cook dinner, clean the house, then would go to bed and wake up like 4 hours later and do the whole thing all over again. And
Mm.
so growing up, my mom, I mean, that's wear and tear. That will destroy you. Like, I
Mm.
I love my mom so much. I admire her. But her taking everything on herself destroyed her
Mm.
physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And So when she finally did start giving us the opportunity to do things, she had done it for so long in such a certain way that if we didn't do it the exact same way that she did it, she got very frustrated and very angry and was like, I should have just done this myself. Why can't you guys do it this way? And
Mm,
kind of like what happened with you, it just caused a lot of tension within our family. And again, this isn't to chastise or shame my mom at all. She just didn't know how to communicate why she did things the way that she did them,
mm,
and kind of struggled showing us how she did it. It was like, well, just watch me and then go do it. And
mm,
not everyone learns that way. Know I don't learn that way. Like I learn better with a hands-on approach.
mhm,
Um, and I know that now. I didn't know that then as a kid though. And
mhm.
and growing up, I was just so resentful of it that I'm just like, I'm gonna do it my way. If you don't like it, don't tell me to do it then. And I got kind of petty at that point. But tying this into what we wanted to talk about in this episode, I mean, with Emilia's mom and my mom, and I mean, we both have had experiences in this too, where we really struggled delegating because we needed things to be done a very specific way. And for whatever reason, we didn't believe that the person could do it the way we wanted them to do it.
Mm,
And we now understand the wear and tear and the cost of doing that, especially as a leader, especially as business owners. I mean, I say this all the time, but you're not a leader only if you run a business. If you're a friend, you're a leader. If you have
mhm,
children, you're a leader. If you're a teacher, you're absolutely a leader. In whatever role you are, brother, sister, cousin, friend, business partner, whatever the case may be, you're a leader.
mhm,
And we're just talking with regard to business owner because we're business owners, and that's the kind of the target audience we're talking to right now. But as a business owner, as a leader of a team, if you can't delegate, you will crash and burn. And
mm,
I know that's very blunt to say, but it's the reality, and it's a reality that we all need to hear. When
mm.
Emilia and I first started, it was called the Why Power podcast. For those of you who have been listening from the beginning, you'll know that we changed over a couple months ago. But when Emilia and I first started, Emilia really struggled delegating. She had a lot of past experiences where people were not putting effort the way that she did. She wasn't working with people who cared as much as I do and as much as she does. So she built this fear that if I delegate, it's not going to get done. It's not going to get done right. It's not going to get done on time. And I kind of had to condition her, and we had to condition each other as to like,
Mm,
you need to trust me enough to get stuff done. And
yep.
I need to trust you enough to tell me how you want it done
Mhm,
and give me the resources so I can teach myself so that it can get done the way it needs to get done and in a timely fashion. And
mhm,
now that took extraordinary leadership on both of our ends because I needed to communicate to her, like, Emilia, I need you to tell me what you need because you cannot get all of this done by yourself and expect everything to get done. The business is going to fail that way.
mhm,
And she needed leadership and telling me how to do it, showing me how to do it, trusting me enough that I
mhm,
will get it done. And if not, I will ask for help.
mm.
That's also a really critical component, though. Does your team believe that they can come talk to you? Can they ask you for help? Are you the kind of leader that allows for that? Because I've
Mm,
had so many jobs where I could not go to my boss and say, I made a mistake. I need help. Or just, I need help. Can I be shown how to do this?
mhm.
And that's a huge component of it. And I know Emilia probably has a good story for that, but probably many,
Many.
many stories. But I guess I'm going to pass the torch to you, but my final point is, as leaders, you need to be able to get things off of your plate that you can allow for other people to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the CEO of Apple is not going to be in the Apple store selling someone AirPods.
Mm-hmm.
That is not their highest priority. That is not their highest productivity item. Why would
Mm-hmm.
they do that? It's like Emilia making the digital assets. I said it to her earlier. I was like, you're not going to sit there in Canva and make the digital assets. Like, I don't need you to do that. I need you to be the CEO of this business.
Yeah.
And if she was doing that, she could not do the CEO requirements.
Yeah. Thanks, B. I think a lot of it, to Bianca's point, like you had mentioned, I've struggled with degradation.
Degradation.
I think we should term that an evolved term. I've struggled with delegation a lot of my life. And as I've struggled through that, I've failed miserably at delegating. I've failed miserably at communicating what my standards were, what my visions were, what our vision when we work together could be. I've failed miserably at acknowledging my insecurities around why I struggle with delegation at its finest. What beliefs are holding me back from actually delegating? And it's funny now because, like, quite literally last night, I was helping one of the most advanced leaders that I personally know in this capacity, which was a really cool testament because, like you had said, Bianca, like I've had a lot of really negative bids or negative experiences when it comes to delegation. But let's rewind a little bit back to that initial story that I said at the very beginning. Watching my mom do things a very strategic way without really understanding the whys, but rather watching, not doing, but watching her do specific things a certain way, not being asked, hey, could you grab this bag and put it there? Now, eventually she did that because she can't do everything herself. But a lot of my life I've spent observing when I was younger rather than doing. And though my mother really tried to make sure that us kids were highly utilized to help her, I internalized a lot of this concept of everything needing to be perfect. And so I joke about it being a recovering perfectionism, but I have a very strong perfectionism bias that I've had to work through. And thanks to a lot of Bianca's help and a lot of Alan's help and a lot of the people who now I really care for and care with, I've worked a lot through that, and I've had to learn that that was cultivated based off of a big belief, what Bianca had mentioned earlier, of that no one else can do this. No one else can do what I'm doing. Very similar to like my mom and her incredible ability to put bags and strollers and, like swords and all this cool, crazy stuff that we would have in the back of a trunk. No one else was the puzzle master. And while I admire that, just like I admire Bianca, your mom, and other people in this world who, are so extraordinary good at something, you never know if someone else could be that extraordinary in that if you never give them a chance. And so while I take a lot of pride in my trunk packing capabilities, I know I can teach anyone how to do that. Now, what I can't teach, and again, can't is a limiting belief, but what I know I've been very challenged to teach people with as a result of learning this is what I uniquely am suited to do. And that's the thing. You've got to really understand, what are you uniquely suited to do? And how can you delegate everything else that you literally are unable to teach because there are no words yet. There's no belief system that could change that. And you've acknowledged every insecurity that has held you back up until this point that you can eradicate from your life now. So with my struggle in that, I think what's so critical is some of these things that I'll bring forward, and just kind of to wrap up this episode for a sake of time, some of the data that comes with this. I know a lot of women struggle with delegation, and we being women, we can speak to that again, going back to our past and seeing that as a generational thing. The I'll just do it myself mentality is an indicator of a belief that you don't believe other people are capable of doing this task. And that I had to root out of me. It's not easier to just do it yourself. As a matter of fact, when it comes to the biggest paradox surrounding delegation is that belief that it's easier now to do it yourself. That's a very deathly assumption. If you believe it's easier for you to do it right now, you will never save yourself, your team, and your future that time that you could have taken right here and right now to delegate that. Right? That's the biggest issue. Delegation at its core is giving someone else the opportunity to have a responsibility that you have. It's the authority that you might carry by knowing or having a higher degree of awareness or insights. And it's also having the accountability being transferred to them that they can otherwise delegate whatever task it is. And so this stat was something that Bianca and I looked at that I thought was very important as it comes to looking at delegation. 30% of managers actually believe that they're terrible when it comes to delegation. Now, Bianca and I speak about beliefs so much that if you're a long-term listener, oh, my tongue's really caught up today, huh? If you're a long-term listener, you know that Bianca and I speak so much about beliefs. Why? Because behavior follows your belief system. So if you happen to fall within that 30% of, I don't believe I'm a great delegator, which is what my belief was prior to you and I meeting Bianca, every single behavior will follow. I won't try to delegate something. I won't inherently try to trust you to do something that I've so wrapped my own personal identity around just doing. I would never give you the opportunity. And that's not fair. That's not what builds a team. That is not great leadership. And as a matter of fact, my sole belief now, what I hold is that your ability to delegate is not anything but this. It is your sole competitive advantage when it comes to being a leader. I don't care if you're a friend, if you're a dog walker, if you're a business owner, your competitive advantage, meaning the value that you can bring to the world, is truly in your ability to delegate effectively, empowering others in a way and in a capacity that they might have never believed they could have done before. And that's one of the things, Bianca, I'm so proud about when it comes to you and I's relationship, because you're doing things now that had I not worked through my insecurities, my fears, my beliefs, my communication styles, thanks to a lot of you making me trust you through that and the delicate pushes that you've given me and the trust that you've shown I could have in you. You know, a lot of what even you're doing now and what our clients are doing now and the people around us, even Alan, like that's my biggest pride point because I sucked at delegating. But now I'm not perfect by any means. And I know that. But now I do know that I delegate far more effectively than I ever have in my entire life. And so a lot of that is big thanks to you and I and this big dream and these big goals that we have, but certainly within our friendship, our partnership, and in the work that we do in the world.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I think a really big component to add to that too is when you as a leader give someone the opportunity to try something, it builds their belief in themselves. You know, every time Emilia has challenged me to try something, even if I was scared, right? It built a belief in me once I got it done. Once I was able to do it and I was able to submit it, and she, you know, gave me some feedback and gave me a lot of recognition. Like, you know what, B, I didn't want to give this to you. I thought I could do it better myself, but you did a really amazing job. And here's the points that you did really well. You know, I wouldn't have thought of that, or I wouldn't have done this, or, you know what, I really like how you did that.
Yeah.
It builds up my confidence in myself, my own self-belief, my own sense of self-worth. And then I'm more capable and more able next time to take on more tasks and to take
Mm.
on more responsibilities, so that Emilia or whoever that business owner is or that leader can do more of what's in their genius zone, what's in their capability, whatever their KPIs are, or, however you measure progress. But if as a leader, you are not giving your people the opportunity to build their own successes, to build their confidence, to build their belief, to build their sense of self-efficacy,
Mm.
that shows poorly on you as a leader. And then when you finally do give people the opportunity to do things kind of like the way that my mom did it, there's going to be a lot of resentment there. There's going to be a lot of, well, I have no idea how to do this. And now I don't believe in myself to be able to do it. So
Mm.
I'm not going to do it well. And then it's going to be confirmation bias. You're only going to believe now even further that you shouldn't have delegated. But
Such a great point.
it actually comes from you, because you originally did not take the time, invest the time, not take the time, invest the time
Thank you.
to be the leader that your people needed so that they can do their job and so that you can do yours.
I'm having a moment.
Yeah.
I'm just so proud of you. I'm so proud of us. Yeah, it's really cool. You guys, if you've watched us from our very first episode, that was definitely no short of being rough to now. I'm just, very, very proud, because none of that would have been possible if we didn't just really try to, part of delegating and part of leadership is just being okay with failure and embracing that failure and realizing that it doesn't define who you are. It's what you do with that. And
Absolutely.
I've been so grateful to learn that with the work that we do and the work that we do with our clients and the work that we get to do with our beautiful community. And so, a lot has changed in 2 years. So, really appreciate that, B. It's such a great point that you make, the confirmation bias, building self-efficacy, building self-esteem and self-worth. And now Bianca, Bianca said she had never really struggled with delegation before, but you did when we first met in certain capacities. And now, just from my perspective now, and other, in those same capacities, you've made tremendous progress. And again, none of us are perfect. None of us are trying to be perfect. I think it's the aspiration to be better and be our bettered best. That's what will help you delegate. That's what will help you really refine your competitive edge and your collaborative edge, which honestly, in this 21st century, as we evolve, is going to be the biggest thing. If you're not able to delegate, you're not going to be able to build a team. You're not going to build their belief within themselves, which, as we mentioned, I think Bianca, you had mentioned it the last episode, was one of the 3 primary traits to be able to evolve as a business, as a community, as a person, and certainly as a leader. So we hope you enjoyed this episode. That's all I have on my end. I know we'll go into episode suggestions and takeaways in a sec, but B, I just wanted to double check in with you if there's anything that you want to say in closure.
I feel complete. I'm happy about this episode. I think this was really impactful.
Me too. Me too. Alrighty. So episode suggestions, let's dive into those. Bianca and I, for those new listeners, she and I give 3 each. So if this episode, I almost just said bone, resonates with you, if this episode resonates with you, please go back to these episodes and take a glimpse at these episodes. And even if you listened to them already before, now having listened to this episode, you might, it's almost like putting a different color lens on and watching a movie. You might see things that you never would have seen. And we try to cultivate our episodes so that if you were to look back with new awarenesses, you would actually see those. So, Bianca, what are your top 3 episode suggestions?
I'm going way back. So episode number 2, why collaboration is key. Episode 33, creating the life you desire through systems. And number 40, how to prioritize your life. Those are my top 3. What were yours?
Beautiful. I have number 70, your need for belonging is screwing you. I have number 87. Are you a doer or are you a pretender? And I have number 93. Poor leadership is costing you more than you think. So, newer episodes. So, choose your poison. With love. No, but top takeaway for you, Bianca, and then we'll give everyone an invite to Out of the Mud, and then we'll have everyone be on their merry way.
Top takeaway for me is that the quality and the success of your team really is going to come down to the quality of your leadership and the quality of your ability to delegate and to teach your people how to do what it is that you want them to do.
Nice. I love that. There's something so fulfilling in teaching and having someone have that light bulb moment as a result of that. My top takeaway would be to think about, we've talked about the long-term strategy, think about the long term. And in that long term, you're going to need so many beautiful opportunities for you to really cultivate your own leadership. And so when it comes to that long term, think of the win-win-win instances. When you can delegate effectively, then that allows someone the opportunity to be empowered to instill that self-confidence. So it's a win for you, it's a win for them, and it's ultimately a win for anyone that they have an impact with. So think about the long term, consider what's a win-win-win when it comes to delegation. And then ultimately at the very, very heart of all of that, don't think about the what you need to do, but who can do this, not based on what they've shown you to date, but what their potential could be if you had great leadership skills, if you had great communication skills, and if you had the belief within yourself to be super effective in this. Who could be this person for you?
Oh, that was fire. Beautiful
Thanks,
way to end this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much to everyone listening. Thank you for being a part of our community. If you want a more structured, more intensive, more content-based filled lesson on all of this, Out of the Mud, by the time you listen to this, it will be tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is a free live event. You get face-to-face contact with Emilia and I going through all of this, plus the added bonus of having an amazing community of people there who want to learn this too. You know, everything we do, it's not for us. It's to really provide value to all of you, to everyone listening, to help all of you shift your consciousness to unlimited potential, to shift you into being the most extraordinary version of yourself that you can be. And there is no better way to do that from my own experience than being in a room of like-minded people on a similar journey, on a similar path to you. So if you want that incredible experience, and that's not coming from us, that's coming from past people who have been there, come to this event. It really is going to be extraordinary.
We hope to see you there. This month is going to be how to be a 21st century leader. So if you even want to meet some of our members on our team, maybe ask them questions, ask us questions, that will be a great opportunity. And like Bianca said, it will be an extraordinary virtual event. So we hope to see you there. The link will be in the show notes, so please click below, but they will also be the registration event link in Bianca and I's profile and Instagram. So please feel free to reach out to us. We cannot wait to meet you. One of our favorite things is meeting and speaking to our listeners. And stay tuned for our private Facebook group series called My Evolve Story, where we get to interview some of our members about their evolutions. So stay tuned, more to come, lots of good stuff coming your way. And we're so grateful that this episode resonated with you. Please share it with someone that you love and care about, and certainly someone who might be on the struggle bus when it comes to delegation. Reach out to Bianca or myself to learn what not to do and how to fail faster, fail forward, and fail in a direction that serves you, your team, and ultimately the mission you want to serve.
Love it. Thank you all so much, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye, everyone.